So this is me trying something a little bit different for my channel and for the content that I usually put out. My name is JITV. I am a streamer and creator for Team Serenity. I have also taken up a bit of casting here and there, and now I want to try and show how I analyze Valorant games and different playstyles. With the Masters, the Valorant Masters being played over the course of this weekend coming, one of the things that has taken the competitive ecosystem a little bit by storm has been this aggressive defensive playstyle, getting as much control as you can. A playstyle we see the likes of Sentinels, the likes of FaZe, a lot of these teams trying to adopt very quickly and on specific maps. For this game in particular, I'm going to single out the game between FaZe and Envy. I believe this game would have been on Bind, and we're going to break down how FaZe defended and how they managed to treat it like a plat ranked game, essentially. First thing I would note is we'll look at the composition of the two teams. If you want to note, and right now on Envy's you can see Mummy on the Omen, we have Crashies on his Sova, Food on that Phoenix, Finesse on the Cypher, and Caboose on the Raze, that double duelist single sentinel, and then with your controller and initiator. That seems to be the bog standard setup when it comes towards a map like Bind, when it's incredibly open for sites like A and tough to retake for sites like B. Now, on your lower right, you can see the FaZe lineup. We have Corey on that Raze. We have the Breach from Zachary. We have the controller in the Omen immersed Baby Bay on that Jet, and Raucous on the Sova. Similar compositions, but with a little twist to it. The difference being between both FaZe and Envy in this scenario is the lack of sentinels on the FaZe side. FaZe opting not to per se lock down a site, but to just have general control over the site as teams attempt to push in. What's important to note is that very quickly in this game, in this particular matchup on Bind, this would have been map 2, map 1 already going to FaZe in a best of 3. It was a bit of a mismatch, you would feel, based purely on the positions that FaZe ended up taking and ascertaining towards the end of the rounds. It's just the teamwork, the team play just came in clutch very, very quickly. What I would like to note is at the start, FaZe took both pistol rounds. The first buy round did go to Envy, but that was down to just sheer attrition. I think it was a bonus buy on the end of FaZe.
Ooh, and it's looking like it's going to work out here. Corey's getting caught off guard. They're charging and they're splitting onto the site. And FaZe, despite having a lot of players here, they are really in a bad timing on this one. Not ready to defend this. Envy have really found that perfect moment to...
So very quickly, I think Corey managed to find out that there was players trying to push into Hookah. He knew there was at least 2 trying to make their way into Hookah, so he tries to satchel back, gets caught up then with the flash and gets taken out too easy. They got compromised then on timing. That's how FaZe lost out on round 4. Movement and these micro decisions can have an awful impact when you go into further rounds, but if you want to analyze that from a defensive perspective, absolute mismatch. They managed to play that completely wrong, fell back from Hookah when they could have at least had a hold with a satchel, absolutely anything to play into their favour. It seemed as though they panicked once they had that Hookah control. So let's see, I don't know how well this can be seen here. So they have both, that's Zachary and Merv over on A site. They're obviously unaware, they're holding their angles as they should be. But it's here. It's right here when they have the Raze and the Phoenix, when they have both Caboose and Food getting aggressive, trying to cause problems. That's when Corey should be starting. Even a one and done can force them back. It can give them that somewhat edge. But he just falls back too quickly when he has 2 of his teammates pushed up fairly high on site as well. It kind of caught them off guard. It may have cost them out, at least in this round. That's an error, I believe, on the end of Corey. But we see him redeem himself very soon. So what I was trying to point out there, if you might have saw already, it's when we had... Oh, let's move into here. When we had players like Caboose and like Food getting an angle up here, Corey was sat here just inside window, holding an angle, using that bomb buddy, trying to feed them out, trying to make a play. When he then rotates back over out of hookah, and he has teammates exposed here and here. It takes one swing from Garden to catch one out, and that can be a case of one and done, especially when the comm is going to be from Corey that he knows there's going to be two in hookah. He's heard two, he saw two. I think he saw at the very least the Rays and the Phoenix. He had to fall back very quickly. But with his teammates in such an advanced position, I believe he had it was their Sova and their it wasn't their Cypher, it may have been Zach, up on a high angle. It got them caught out, and they were left somewhat lackluster in their defense.
Hunter's Fury also trying to clear out the U-Haul position, and that's Raucous down, out for the count as Food with the run it back, circles the back of the site. Envy have a lot of control right now, but it's by design to a certain extent. FaZe are going to have to play the retake, and it's going to be difficult, but that episode, that's going to catch Mummy. That's a beautiful pickup. That's going to even the numbers. 3 against 3. At least the spike was planted. Crashy's defending for the moment, but he will go down the trace through. Baby Bay is unstoppable with the knife flying through the air. Takes down Food. It's all on Finesse's shoulders, and Baby Bay cannot be stopped.
What? Damn, that was incredible.
What I'm going to show you guys here is a play that I want to say was somewhat good from Envy. They managed to get onto site well and efficiently, but holding site became a serious issue. So with a play-by-play, that was a good pick that we got to see coming out from, that was Crashies with the ult. He got the pick onto Raucous in a U-Haul. It gets them a bit of an advanced angle, and we see Marv's did open up and swing onto Caboose. But this is where I think NA may be falling behind a lot of the other regions, because he's wide swinging a crazy angle. But he does this. He stays out and he gets picked off by Mome, and it's an unnecessary swing that ends up costing him. He may get some good sponge damage onto Mome. I see Mome here. He's down to 99 HP. That's 51 damage at maximum that he took from that encounter with a free pick. Not worth it. Not worth it in the long run. And it did put them into a position where they were at a 4-3 disadvantage. This is one that I'm not sure I particularly understand from Mome. They sacrificed someone's life just for the plant, and I think it was with Zachary's ability here, and it hit him hard. It took him down. I don't think they had to stick that. I think sticking that may have been their downfall in this particular round, because that brought it down to an even playing field instantly. Instantly they were on the, well, not per se the back foot, but the front foot that they once had is all of a sudden stepped on, and they're back in line. It's neck and neck. Anything can happen at that point. Then, of course, we got to see Baby Bay bring out some serious magic with 3 very nice picks. That's just FaZe for you. That's just their talent. When they got up, when he uses his updraft, he had the sight on the Phoenix coming out from showers. He was short-sighted on Finesse, but he still got the pick in the end. It's I want to say a lucky one at that he got so much time and so much space, but that's just the way they played. Corey held an angle which it didn't let Food hold it for too long. It didn't let Food hold that angle towards U-Haul on top of the box covering default. It caught them out. It did catch them out. So to kind of point out how these teams held out, in the red I'm going to mark here was the defenders. They had someone was sat in lamps. We had someone sat, I believe, just in cubby, and someone sat within showers. All the while we saw that was this post plant. This was where Mome had got the pick when he planted and got picked off by the FaZe defenders, who were sat in tower and 2 coming in from CT. Now, what I'm trying to point out is that when Corey got in, he came around the far side and held showers, not allowing anyone to swing. So when Baby Bay got his chance to updraft on top of box to get an angle on anyone from his left and from his right. Now bear in mind, in the meantime, Baby Bay did get the pick onto the person holding lamps. He gets the jump, he gets the updraft, he's given so much time and space. He can have a look, because they know they can't let the player in cubby peek. So once he gets a pick to his left, I think he then gets the hit onto Food, which was a bit of an easy pick as per the game. Food has to watch out on his right, because he can hear the Rays heavy stepping. The updraft then did catch him out. Then there's 1 man left, and maybe a little bit of a whiff you'd think coming out from from Finesse trying to take down BBB, but a 3-piece and a strong one at that. A poor hold from Envy, and it seemed to be a retake from FaZe that went incredibly due to Envy's negligence. So into this next round, we do see FaZe are a man down. Not FaZe, that's Envy are a man down through defaulting. It just didn't work out as they went through bathrooms, showers even. It seemed to catch them out of touch, but then they just fell back. So what you're going to see from here, it was a 4 versus 5 and how they tried to play somewhat post-plant.
I mean, there are 3 people at this B site despite Baby Bay opping there. So maybe they can get this 4-on-2 at A, but Food will need to regroup because he is way out of the picture right now.
Funny timing straight through. There comes the showstopper clearing out U-Haul, but that tells them that there's no one here. They have to be backside somewhere. And that's a great clearance. That gives them such an important position. They go for the plant, but there comes the Rolling Thunder, using the paint shells to try to delay the push behind the Rolling Thunder. That is going to give more time to Envy, but there come the paint shells from Corey. He knows that they're scattered around U-Haul, and that's going to be some good damage onto Caboose. And they're going to fall through the TP. They're switching up. They're going to be, but there's the from the shadows into Garden. Marv has an angle, takes down Food. They have to come off the spike plant. They have to force it. They don't have much time. Marv is owning absolutely everybody. This doesn't seem real right now. How is he getting so much value? Oh my God, Marv just destroys the...
So the initial push that came out from Envy had them come through A short and gave them some angles very quickly. I believe they had Caboose use the showstopper, got himself into lamps, had good control of lamps, and I think this is where he picked off Brockus, if I'm not mistaken. Raucus here, not Brockus. Raucus was picked off over here. That instantly made it a 4 versus 4, which is always a good start. Always a good start to be back on level playing terms when you're trying to hold site, when you're trying to play for post-plant. Issue. So we did see Envy, they get all 3 pretty much gathered, ready to plant. I believe they had one then set around, was even back here, just trying to tap fire in towards Heaven. But in Heaven was Zachary with the Rolling Thunder. The Rolling Thunder from Tower managed to cause enough of an issue that forced them out of lamps. I think it's anywhere in this rate, maybe not as far as here, but anywhere in this radius, it pushed them back. It gave them serious issues. And it forced them through to TP. At this point as well, I want you to know that FaZe did have, I believe, 2 coming out from CT, with 1 still on his way in the defender side spawn. So with 2 sat in approximately here, and 1 maybe on his way through. They were in that position to start the retake if the plant was to go on in. They were able to delay it. I think Corey in the end got an angle roughly where Raucus died. I think Corey was the first out. He got the angle where Raucus died. The paint shells then over the top off the box to default did delay the plant. Delaying the plant was everything there to try and play post plant. That was everything that the game needed. But then the TP play came. So the breach ultimate did delay the plant. We're able to establish that. The attackers, approximately, we had 1 towards lamps who were able to push back. We had 1 behind the box. 1 sat roughly default where he was pushed off by the ult, and 1 outside TP. I believe Caboose was the player just outside of TP as he had to fall back. Then the TP play came in, where they hit the TP following the ult. They knew the over-rotate had came on in. They made their way through the exits, they got onto site, and the positioning that they got, what we got to see at the very least anyways, was they had Food roughly here. I think it was Caboose on his way down, and the planter sat on B site. And bear in mind, when I say the people rotated, everyone but the Cypher lurk rotated. The Cypher stayed, waited for someone else to hit the TP to get that free pick on the way over. To give you an idea of the FaZe setup then at that point, they still had Zachary in Tower in Heaven. They still had, I believe, Corey was just in on site. The Omen had eventually got control of lamps. That would have been Marved. Then it was from here, Marv's TP play down to Long. The TP play down to Long is what won them that round, and there's no disputing that. The 4-piece was absolutely impeccable. As soon as he got the swing, he had that angle immediately onto, I think it was Food he first picked off. Caboose then delaying his peak, delaying his swing, while Marv still had the momentum as such, getting 2 easy picks, and while planting, getting the last shot onto the planter. I believe the Cypher lurk in, it would have been Finesse, was a bit too slow to make his way through the TP, then got picked off while starting the defuse. Zachary and co were left untouched as they went to move through back into sight from CT. What caught out Envy in this scenario is that preparation for post-plant. Post-plant caught them blind, caught them out, and absolutely rattled them in the wide scheme of things. Envy, one of the best teams that the tournament has to offer, getting caught out by what you could only describe as silly mistakes. Is it a mistake they're going to make again? More than likely. Is it a mistake that they're going to want to make again? Absolutely not. They're going to try and learn from it. But it's by affording so many angles, by not covering, well, not getting down long quick enough, not being able to hold out long. Because they inevitably what should have happened was, Food holding elbow is fine. It's the Raze in Caboose has to quickly get into garden and look down long so we can try and spot people out and so we can play off site just for that post plant to try and delay. Delaying is the name of the game.
Nice little crossfire coming through, taking down Zach. Great team play, and now it's Envy's turn. Crashies and Food looking to deliver here for them to secure this round, but it's the final boss, Baby Bay, stepping up to the plate, looking to come down from heaven. Almost gets the catch, swaps out for the Vandal. The dash across, he's got a lot to deal with right now. If they play the swing correctly, it shouldn't be possible for Baby Bay. Oh no, again!
No way,
Baby Bay
man,
makes
no
it
time.
happen!
No
Does he
time.
have time? He doesn't. But still, Sean, in terms of the emotional, the psychological victory, it is with Baby Bay. Despite losing the round, they're taking everything away from Envy that's possible.
My only criticisms I can have for this play alone, they seem to play it right all up until this point, but even then I want to go on the premise that they knew what they were doing. What you see here is that formation being made by Food and Crashies. Crashies was pinned in behind the box in the middle of sight, and Food was behind default, and they knew that Baby Bay was waiting on heaven. I think they had anticipated the op. They would have heard op fire prior to this.
This round, but it's the final boss, Baby Bay, stepping
Here.
up to the plate.
This is where it's obviously hindsight is 2020. You can say that this is obviously a crucial error on Baby Bay's behalf, but with the wall up, the Sova, I can point out here in a second where I think the Sova should have went. This is where Crashies has made his error in my mind, even though he's been bailed out here by Food. What I'd like to point out here is this is going to be Food, the Phoenix. This is where he has his control. This is where we can see Baby Bay has angles down. He can look down onto side. He has no real angle. He does see Crashies throw a dart into the wall here, trying to feed for info, but it isn't enough in the end. Then the wall, the firewall does get thrown up by the Phoenix, covering, and let me just throw you now, this cover shows it all the way here and doesn't allow the Jet to see into showers. That is where I believe, now again, I'm phrasing this way so people have to understand, these players are much better than me at the game. They probably have a better game sense, they probably have way more hours into the game than I have, but this is when they have to really assemble that crossfire, in my opinion, because when you have Food waiting here with this wall here allows Crashies to pull out and to sit somewhere maybe here if he wants a crossfire onto Spike, or even into showers where he can still try and get an angle and feed on out to players, onto the likes of Baby Bay trying to take it. Instead, what we saw happen was, and I'll mark it in yellow, we saw him move from behind the box right beside Food, and they had only a smoke in the way, a jet smoke that was put down by Baby Bay himself. They both swung the same angle. They both got caught out piece by piece as Baby Bay made the move through onto site. Didn't get the defuse off in the end, but it's the mental war really plays into effect there. Envy won the round, FaZe won the war, and that's one of the places where it would have been a real kick in the shins for them to have done that. Round 9 was decided very quickly due to a defensive mishap. It was Caboose was given far too much space into U-Haul on A side, and they just walked away that round. I believe they had a 2-man save on the FaZe side. Then when we go to the next round, I'm going to speak through this. They tried to default. They tried to hide from a dart going down on B long, and they had Finesse trying to lurk out on A side while trying to feed themselves into B. They were too slow making their way into B, and when they did I'm afraid FaZe had too much side control and just quite simply hit their shots. They hit the shots that they needed to. They sunk them. They had so much control on the side. FaZe had too much control at that point when they tried to engage.
In all these fights. And it takes some insane strategic masterpiece for them to string together any rounds.
They have to be able to live up to some of these individual plays. Corey, the headhunter, just annihilates Food and Caboose on the defense. And again, those 2 kills, it just makes a difference. That extra kill that he gets, that they can't gain ground into the site. And now they're stuck in Garden, stuck in Hookah. They have to win fights to get out of this position, and winning fights, well, that is the playground of FaZe. That's where they want to be. That's where they do their best work, and they are just crushing it again. Oh no, not like this. Baby Bay taking down Mummy to finish off the round in this Baby Bay fashion, and that's going to be FaZe taking the lead once again.
Wow.
So at the start of round 11, what you've just got to saw was just a little piece of individual brilliance from Corey, just holding that little cubby on the inside of B side, having that swing onto Hookah. I think he quickly took down Food and Caboose, if I'm not mistaken. I might catch up with that again in a second, but Food and Caboose getting taken down effectively and efficiently, and it thwarted the entire attack. And not only that, they did that and they made it pretty much a next to even contest. It was a 3 versus 2 standoff onto site when FaZe had gambled 3 onto A. Now that's something they can't afford to lose. That's something you cannot afford to throw. When you have a 2-man B site, if they can get control of Hookah and control of even near side site as fast as they can, then all of a sudden a different game, a different ball game altogether. If Food or Caboose, if either of them get that pick onto Corey, then it's their site. They can't really lose it because it requires an awful lot of work from Raucus to keep them off. But the individual brilliance shone through. What you can see on your screen now is the defensive default play coming out from FaZe. This is what they stuck with, and it's what got them so much control, even though it did require some individual brilliance. So what we did get to see was the attack immediately coming up from Food and Caboose in through Hookah. So once they start to apply that pressure, once they take down the bomb buddy from Corey, that's when Corey decides very quickly he has to fall back in towards the cubby, and it's in the cubby with the nade delaying people jumping out of the window is where he buys himself so much time. And when he buys that time, it also gives that audio cue. He can give the shout, there's people in B window, there's people in Hookah. That's when his team can start their rotate on over. But by the time they start to rotate, Corey has 2 swings, and on those 2 swings, he catches 2 of the Envy players. 1 here and 1 here. That would have been Food, 1 Caboose. They had 2 long, who in the end got taken down by Baby Bay back side, if I'm not mistaken. And it just all went, as I'd put it, tits up. It all went tits up because then I think they had their Omen as well sat just outside of Hookah trying to watch the flank for any inadvertent attacks coming from behind. But this right here between Food and Caboose is a massive error, and it's a match deciding error to some extent, because momentum is a huge thing you find in games like these where teams really need as much confidence going into every single round as they did going into the one before. To lose out 2 people in that manner in this window here and as quickly as they did, that quickly it was a stun. It took Envy by surprise. It wasn't a big blind, because in that scenario then, see, arguably the only way they could have played it differently is by playing that much slower. Let the bomb buddy roll on out, maybe fall on back in towards lobby, sit back, wait for it to roll on out, let Corey push up, try and catch him on the blind side, try and catch him out when he tries to ascertain a position further up, trying to get control of short. So if Corey, for example, once he has the bomb buddy go through, if it doesn't connect with anyone, he may try and satchel himself behind the box here, or just try and get some general control so he can see himself down into B link or into B lobby from this angle. It's all about playing it slower here, I think. They tried to go fast, and by going fast, they threw it badly. In my opinion, they just had to catch out the one-man sat in behind the wall. Between Food and Caboose, they couldn't afford to lose that the way they did. They simply couldn't. What's worth noting again is that at the turn of the half, it went 7-5. Once we did get the turn of the half, the first two pistol rounds, well, the first pistol round and the second, well, it'd be your fourth Stinger, fourth Spectre buy, went in favour of FaZe again. So it came down to 9-5 as we entered into round 15. Now, boys, I'm going to be honest with you. FaZe took round 15. They made it 10-5. I have no idea how they won that round. I have no idea.
Dark, it's nothing.
All it takes is one huge clutch from Envy or one big moment from an individual to bring the confidence levels up for the entire team. We've seen it so many times.
That's actually a disaster that they let that drone spot 3 of them. So now they're going to opt to back out. But if you look where the raise is right now. Look at the ground Caboose has.
This is great. This is beautiful. This is what we're talking about. This could be a great moment for Caboose. Oh no! The whips come through at the worst possible time. He had the play. That was the play. Still, though, it's not done just yet. We've got Mummy here on the site looking to see if he can defend, but he is getting barraged by utility from FaZe. Somehow, Baby Bay's standing on 1 HP. Boo's looking to drop down at the dark cover. Where did that come from? Corey finding food. I don't even understand what that was, but that's surely the last best effort gone now.
So I'm going to break this down as best as I can on why I have absolutely no idea how FaZe won this round. So they started off the attack with the aggressive B-long push. The dart came in from Envy, so from Crashies, I think it was. Dropped the dart up onto B-long, didn't get any info from it, they had hid from it well. 3 of them then hid alongside the wall at the bottom of B lobby on the way into B-long. And then the drone was used from Crashies inside of B. The drone got all the way down and spotted 3 players exiting on B lobby. It spotted 3 players. That feeds so much information as to where these lads need to go. And immediately when that call comes in, we saw the Omen and the Cypher leave A site and hit through CT over onto B ASAP. Well, somewhat ASAP. They made their way as quickly as they could until they've had the info that they'd started to pull away. Then they made their way through the bottom here. I believe there's at least 2 of them. It was the Omen and the Raze, if I'm not mistaken. They got up as far as here. Now, what they didn't know was that the smart man in Caboose had got an angle and had pushed up so far he had a flat angle here just outside of the A TP it's the A exit TP, and he had 2 clean shots on players trying to push up right around here, but as you would have saw, he whiffed, and quite badly. Those 2 actions alone, the combination of the 2 confused me so much. I have no idea how FaZe won that particular round. Envy just couldn't hold them. They couldn't hold them. The whiff here from Caboose played a part. It played a serious part, because then they knew they had so much free space to get up into wood showers. Maybe they knew they had 2 had over-rotated over into B in the Cypher and the Omen. So then it was all a case of how quickly and efficiently can they plant and prep for post-plant. So then the spike gets taken down and it gets put down on site here. Let me just drop a little dot for where spike gets dropped. And they have so much control of lamps. They have their Kobe control. They have site controlled. They have 5 men up on this site take. And then I believe it was, I can't remember who swung from the top of heaven, but Corey landed it was a revolver shot onto the head of the player swinging from, it was a sheriff shot onto the player swinging from heaven, took him down instantly. That wiped him out. Made it a 5 versus 3. And from then on, I believe it would have been the closest player here, the Omen, disengaged. And they went for a 3-man save in round 15. FaZe won a round that they had no right winning. You'd nearly go as far as saying FaZe didn't win the round, Envy lost the round. They have the same message, same result, but one has a deeper intrinsic meaning. You could say that FaZe were just better. I don't think that was the case. I think Envy whiffed and really caused their own issues. They were the start of their own downfall in round 15.
See if Finesse can get any love. It does seem like he's going to get some action here as well, because there's that first cage. He's going to stand in the cage for the judge. Love this. Pops Raucous. Who else is next for the judge? It looks like that's going to be it. Corey's able to trade him out, but that's a big kill to find immediately in the round. But that said,
double TP to heaven.
Oh no, Marv is doing so much damage again. Caboose on the flank though, he could do just what Marv just did, but to FaZe instead. He's waiting for the moment. The trigger discipline coming from Caboose. He's calm, he's patient, he's collected, but it's only good for one, and Crashies can't get it done. In the end, it's 12 for FaZe. It's match point for FaZe.
Wow.
So round 20 ended up being a decider, and it all came down to positioning, in my opinion, and how Envy just didn't methodize their defense. They just didn't have the right execution to their hold, and it cost them dearly. It really did in the second map of the best of 3 series. What I'll try putting out here is they had 2 going showers. They had 3 in Cubby and Short. The smoke was played down by the Omen on Envy's side. Dropped it in front here, which it created that mask, to which I think it was Finesse hopped in with a judge and did get a free pick on the player that pushed up behind the box. I think it was the Sova. The Sova got taken down. Then it became a 5 versus 4, but it was a one and done, because then he left the cage, found himself exposed, and he was traded by Corey. Now, the problem with that style of attack, the one and done, really you don't have an awful lot to gain, but there's not an awful lot to lose either. It's kind of throwing a punch and taking a punch. It's just attrition. Maybe he could have got better value for his maneuver, for sitting in the smoke in that manner, but he just didn't. And I think he really had to be quite honest with you. Of a short. This is the positioning you're left with. You have the Raze on the flank, you have the Phoenix and the Sova in CT trying to make their way over the side, and you have the Omen isolated and alone in lamps. Luckily now at this point for FaZe anyways, the Jet makes his move and dashes straight onto default, gets control here, and knows that there can only be people swinging from this angle when this player can push up and cover both here and here. It pretty much saves each angle. This player here, I'm pretty sure in the actual gameplay we see that player is the Omen in Marv. Marv does push up and ascertain. You see it right here. You see it right there. He pushes up, he maintains that angle, he covers his teammates, and they know this is where he has to be. That's the only place he could be hidden. So when Marv gets that angle, he covers both sides. It's a clean sweep. They've got side control. They've got total control. There's only a few certain places where these players can come from. One of them being the flank and the other being CT. Then to rub salt into the wounds. Oh, I've left out a person right here that was in lamps. The Omen and lamps pushed out to about here. When Marv got his angle here, he had the view onto the Omen trying to push out, and it became an easy pick for Marv. The TP then up onto Heaven into his own smoke allowed him to push out of the smoke and get a clean angle onto Food, who was on the outside. I then think it was only Crashies was left on his own, and well, yeah. Then just after the plant, what we got to see was that slow rotate from the Raze. The Raze got into shore. That trigger discipline to wait for the plant. Once the plant landed, got the quick elim onto the planter, the breach. That was on a very smart pick at that. Then he tried to trade with the Raze up on top of the box. Got a lot of damage in, but didn't finish the job. Left his one isolated teammate up in Heaven, who had to swing out, and the Omen executed and did his job. That strategically there is the best you can get when it comes to a clean sweep of a site. Having so much control, leaving showers uncontrolled, having the Jet get into the center, and having the Omen from, well, this is from where they initially were, having the Jet get into the center onto default, and then getting the Omen to control as much of the backside as he can, clearing this angle, and trying to clear whatever upper angles he can get. Probably going to sit on the lip just below Heaven at that. Such good control, and that's what I think won them that round, and the round ended up being inevitably a decider because Envy were left completely teethless in their attack. Or rather, in their defense. the final round went just as such. It was that dump of the ultimate abilities, and I think they ended up running away with it quite comfortably in the end. I think Food got 2 picks off, but in the end, FaZe won. What won this game for FaZe, in my general opinion, is the way they were able to hold site in such an aggressive manner. It wasn't about holding angles, it was about seeking them out. It was about trying to get as much info as they can as early as they can, so they can try and, at the very least, deny the defuse. I think a lot of it then came down to Envy just not showing up on the day, not performing the way they would have liked to. See a few different whiffs here and there from lads that you wouldn't really expect to whiff. But at the end of the day, it's just one of those things they're going to end up picking up from this snowballing, and it's just going to end up being a learning curve for them as a team. I'm going to try and read into a few different games now, maybe over the course of the next week, just reading into them in the same methodology, trying to pick out positioning, trying to pick out the form of attacks and how they try and purvey information, and I'm going to show you how I perceive it and what I think is smart in a gaming sense. A reminder: I am by no means a radiant gamer. I'm just a caster. Look, be sure to like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Stuff like this is it's kind of new for me. I'm trying to pick up more of it as I go along. I think analysing Valorant at its highest level is what I want to do, at least for the next while. See how I feel about it, see what I think of it, see how I perceive it. It's subjective, it's the game, it's how you really want to look at it. Boys, comment on another matchup you think I should look and read into, a matchup that you think is worth analysing and breaking down, and I will try my very best to do so. But for the time being, I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.